Hello and welcome back to the Movie Pope podcast. And today we are taking a look at the Phoenician Scheme, the latest Wes Anderson film that is going to be released later on this year. Now, I remember watching an episode of the Joe Rogan podcast where he had Bill Murray on, and Bill Murray kind of, talked a little bit about this. But as with all Wes Anderson movies, it's one of those things where it feels a bit pretentious, but you really don't understand what's going on here. Have you ever had that feeling with Wes Anderson, Lee?
Literally all of his movies, right? And I mean, the guy has such a distinct style, right? Like, it's one of those films, or he's one of those directors where you could see, like, as soon as you see it playing out, like, you could be like, oh, that's a Wes Anderson film. So I do have to give the guy some props. Like, he has a very clear vision, and he has a very clear way of how he likes to do his movies that has him really stand out compared to other directors. Not saying that's a good or a bad thing as far as the quality of the films, but the style makes him absolutely stick out in a group of people when you're trying to stick out from all these other, great directors and great films that are out there.
Well, I'll give him props for this. I mean, his movies are original, right? He's not.
Oh, absolutely.
He's not going into the comic playbook and taking out all these stories and just mashing them together and hoping we won't notice the difference. Like it. I mean, I've watched like maybe one or two of his movies. I've walked away thinking I don't really get it, but I do respect him for the fact that at least he's not following the mainstream.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, how many times have we looked at a movie or a trailer, and you've said, literally, there's nothing that I can add because what we've seen in trailer A is pretty much my same reaction with trailer B, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But with Wes Anderson, I mean, it's kind of like art. It's one of those things where either you get it or you don't.
Yes.
But but say whatever you want about him. At least he's not going to give us something that you're expecting, right?
Yes. Regardless, he will give us something new.
Yeah, and another thing that I will add too is the fact that for a guy of his talent, he pretty much he's working in a system where it's pretty much divided into Marvel and DC, right? Or if it's not divided between those two universes, it's pretty much this. Let's go ahead and take a movie from 30 years ago and add to it, right? He's well, Disney would fall. I would kind of spoil it.
Oh, that's fair too. Well, they're doing well. Yeah, I know what you mean.
But either way, where I find it impressive, and you can let me know what your thoughts are, is the fact that he finds a way to thrive in the system, right?
Yeah.
He's not. He's not being run out of Hollywood. He's not going off and showing his movies in art house films, across the country where only 5 people will attend, or he's going to some obscure film festival that no one's ever heard of. No offense to film festivals, we love you guys. But it's just so impressive that he's found a way to not only thrive in in the Hollywood system, but he's getting the big names on side, and it's consistent too. Like he's getting Bill Murray or Scarlett Johansson or Tom Hanks. He's getting all these people in here. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I think it's impressive, right? He absolutely has a niche within here, and I mean, like, I would say, like, in general, right? I mean, he gets a lot of positive reception, right? Like, I'm thinking back to, like, kind of his earlier stuff, right? Like, I think the first one that really sticks out to me is something like the Royal Tenenbaums, right? I think that's the one that kind of sticks out to me the most. And, I think back to, some things like the Fantastic Mr. Fox, right? Just kind of a very interesting, kind of, movie that you have there, Moonrise Kingdom. So, like, he's done quite a lot of interesting things here. And yeah, I mean, it's not everyone's cup of tea, right? And I get that. And I would say it's not quite my cup of tea, but you have to appreciate someone that has a very clear vision for what he wants to do. And I think he has enough of an audience where people are still going back for it. And I think as we get drowned out more and more in the, comic book stuff, the remake stuff, having someone like him still be able to produce stuff, to me is always going to be a net positive, regardless of how much quality you think are in his films. It's still something where it's different, and that's what we need in this day and age more than ever.
Yeah, and if you think about it too, there's only like a handful of directors that we can think of who actually are able to thrive in the Hollywood, ecosystem without having
Yeah.
to, uh, whore themselves out to, to whatever's going on here. Because for a while, Taika Waititi was the darling of the indie world.
Yeah.
He got his foot into Marvel, and things haven't been the same since.
Yeah.
So I mean, with directors like Scorsese or Wes Anderson or Christopher Nolan, I mean, these are guys who are able to they're able to make movies on their own terms, right?
Yeah.
And not only are they able to maintain their artistic integrity, but they're able to make it financially viable, which is an even greater impressive feat, right? Because I mean, it's so easy to say I'm going to stay true to my vision, and not compromise and suffer the financial consequences. But these guys, they found a way to make it work.
Mhm.
They're not. I mean, they're not lacking for anything. I mean, these guys are making movies not because they feel like they're financially responsible for someone or something, but they just want to make it because they love the craft. So without further ado, here is the Phoenician Scheme.
Alright. First time on. Yep, I can tell. Like I said, you just tell immediately, right? It's Wes Anderson film.
At this moment, rescue workers are laboring to recover and identify the remains of Zsa Corda, international businessman, maverick in the fields of armaments and aviation, among the richest men in Europe.
Good to see Benicio del
This
Toro in
was
a role.
Corda's 6th recorded airplane crash. He is survived by 10 children, 9 boys, 1
Plane
nun.
crash.
His
I
daughter
think it's time to
Lisa.
give up on that.
I've appointed you sole heir to my estate, which you may come into sooner rather than later.
Why? It's been 6 years since our last meeting.
I have my reasons.
Which are what?
My reasons? I'm not saying. I'm saying I'm not saying. Corda Land and Sea Phoenician Infrastructure
So Wes
Scheme,
Anderson.
my most important project of my lifetime.
Our objective: disrupting, obstructing, impeding, crippling Corda's enterprise in any manner possible.
Get the hand grenades. Today, tonight, and tomorrow, we rendezvous with every Titan and pretend we agree what we already agreed. But in fact, we don't. We can't.
What an impressive cast, too.
Heads.
I know.
Is this supposed to be here? It was under the lunch trolley.
Oh dear. Who shot you?
Kara's from out of town.
It's
yourself
just
to a hammer.
working,
You're
man.
very kind.
I just don't know what to
Could you
say.
imagine falling in love
Yep,
with a
Michael
man I
Cera.
met, by the way, hypothetically?
You're
Yeah,
drunk. On 3 beers.
Why are you shooting my ceiling?
This is a robbery on behalf of...
I understand that. I'm asking about my ceiling. You idiots are destroying a magnificent nightclub. One thing you'll never know because you can't. The truth. I suppose I'm moved by this absurd performance.
Just saw Benedict Cumberbatch there, where
recognize
he
this assassin.
is really impressive, totally realistic makeup.
Suicide pedal.
Where's the father? Take this miserable sin into the company.
Yeah, that's Wes Anderson. That is
I'm-
undoubtedly him. I mean, like I said, you do have to ultimately just appreciate like how a guy can have such a strong vision. And I mean, everything looks like it, just like kind of like just like the camera, like having the characters like on awkward parts of the page and just like looking directly at us. Like it's just he just has this, such great vision for what he wants to do. And as I said, I mean, it looks amusing, right? Like I laughed a few times. I love to see, kind of big ensemble cast like this. So it absolutely is, interesting. Now, am I gonna check it out? Maybe, maybe not, right? This is probably one of those where I don't watch it in theaters, but I'll catch it on when it comes out. But yeah, I mean, the guy definitely has some interesting things there. I think back to, what was it, Asteroid City, right? Which was, I think,
That's like only 3 years ago too.
I know, right? Like it just feels so weird. Like I'm thinking back to that, and if I recall, like I don't remember Asteroid City getting like a ton of like really positive press. Not that it's bad or anything. So I don't want anyone with the pitchforks out. Like not saying it's bad or anything, I just don't remember it being like super well received. And I think sometimes like when you have such a distinct direction for how you like to do things, I think you'll have people that will constantly flock to it no matter what, and then you'll also have your fair share of detractors. So I'll be curious to see how this one does. But I mean, it has that kind of quirkiness that I think a lot of people really enjoy.
I mean, what fascinates me is the fact that he's consistently able to pull in all these big names into his projects.
Oh yeah.
I mean, because we saw a few in there.
Yeah,
I
ton in
would
there. Yeah, not a few, a ton.
I would even say too, like when you look at Wes Anderson movies, they all have a vintage vibe about them. None of them are really taking place, in the present day. So in other words, we're not seeing people, we're not seeing the characters in the movies kind of dressed like you and I would normally dress, or talk the way that we would talk in everyday life. It's very, it's otherworldly and almost like something from the past. It's almost as if Wes Anderson built a time machine, went back to the to the 40s and 50s, and made a movie, and came back and said, "Look, I found a movie from the vault, and I'm going to show it to all of you guys." I would also say too, there's a bit of a balance to it too. Like it feels very much like mid 20th century, like very, very minimalist. In its aesthetic, it's very bright color, but that's kind of offset by the fact that you have all these dark storylines, like what we saw here, where we're basically saying what amounts to something like the Lord of War, but Wes Anderson's kind of put his seal on it as well. I will say this is a movie that I would be interested in seeing. I'm with you. I think it's one of those movies I would watch when it comes out on streaming, but
Yeah.
it's kind of, I would say, like at some point, because right now we're doing we're doing this series on the Coen brothers, right? At some point I would like to do a series where we look at 6 of Wes Anderson's movies, and we just go over the the 6 and just ask, well, what is it about these particular movies that stand out, that make it a Wes Anderson movie? And to your point, like he does things in such a way that when you watch a movie, like in the first 5 minutes, that's a Wes Anderson movie, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, say what you want about the guy, like, but if you watch a Marvel movie, you have no idea of whether you're watching an Avengers film or an X-Men film or anything like that. And they kind of blend together to the point where you can't even tell if it's a DC or Marvel movie. Or whereas here, it's like, oh, it's very unique, it's very distinctive.
Yeah.
Even if he's not your cup of tea, you can at least appreciate what he's doing here, because he's I would even go so far as to say he's kind of preserving the kind of filmmaking tradition that's been lost since, And I'm not talking about a tradition that goes back to the 80s or 90s, but I'm talking about something that goes back to the golden age of Hollywood, like 30s and 40s. So yeah, that will be quite interesting to see when that movie comes out. But let us know down in the comments below what your thoughts are. Are you a Wes Anderson fanboy? Are you going to call the movie Pope out on his dislike of Wes Anderson? Let us know down in the comments below. And if you're interested in seeing the Phoenician Scheme, let us know what your thoughts are on the trailer, and if you think this might be his best work ever, or if there are better ones to come. And as always, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.